There were tons of places to get clothes, but we were afraid to go to somewhere in town for fear of being spotted. Instead, we drove to one of the southern Columbus suburbs where we stopped at a Walmart. Let me tell you, Destiny stuck out like a sore thumb at Walmart, but when we were done shopping, Meek and I looked like a couple of hot dudes. We had our clothes picked out, tried on, and were heading for the checkout when Meek stopped us. "Hang on a sec, I need to get something. I'll be right back." Meek jogged away only to return a few minutes later with something large tucked under his arm. I watched as he dropped one of the biggest packages I had ever seen in my life of goodnights into the shopping cart. I looked up at Destiny as Meek deposited them into the cart and waited for her response. She simply petted the back of my head and asked, "You all right with that?" I looked at Meek, who was nodding his head exaggeratedly to tell me that I needed to say yes. I nodded and said, "Yeah, I'm good." "That's my boy," Destiny said as we wheeled the cart into the checkout line. "Wow, thanks, Destiny," I said as we were climbing back into the truck. "Honey baby, that was the most fun I've had shopping in a long time," she said. "Did you see that cashier?" Meek asked. I thought he was going to pass out. We drove to the nearest gas station where Meek and I went into the bathroom to change into our new clothes. Destiny came in with us because she had to go potty, but left as soon as she was done. Now that I think about it, this might have been when Meek connected the dots concerning Destiny's true gender. I'll give props to Meek because whenever it was he finally figured it out, he didn't make a big thing of it. "I think she is the nicest person I've ever met," Meek said with this crazy dreamy look in his eyes. "And what's the name of your boyfriend back in Maine?" I asked. "Excuse me?" He said, the words sort of getting stuck in his throat. "Why would you ask me about Pepper just now?" I smiled and shrugged at the same time. "Just seemed like you needed reminding." He made an angry sniffling sound but didn't say anything else. Destiny treated us to entirely too much food. We went to some place called Fightidala, which turned out to not only be a restaurant but also an after-hours gay bar. "All right, my sweet angel boys, Mama Destiny needs you two to stay right here, because I have to work now." "Work?" Meek asked, but Destiny blew us a kiss and disappeared. What do you think he, where do you think Destiny went? Meek asked. "Just call her a her and stop staring at her so much," I whispered. "I can't help it," Meek whispered back. "Yeah, well, I'm starting to think you're straight." The way he gasped and put his hand to his chest, you would have thought I just called him a bastard child or something worse. "That's better." I laughed at the way he responded to being called straight. To our immense surprise, Destiny appeared on stage with a soft blue spotlight on her and she began to sing probably the only Diana Ross song I know, "I'm Coming Out." Meek and I began to clap along with the crowded restaurant as Destiny really belted out the song. Before the song was over, Meek and I were on our feet and singing right along. We got the entire place standing and singing. It was great. She did 2 more songs before disappearing backstage and then coming out to rejoin us at our table. "Holy cow, Destiny! You were magnificent!" I exclaimed. "That was the most astonishing thing I have ever seen," Meek said with a star-struck stare. "Thank you, boys. Now come on." Mama Destiny had an idea while she was up there. Back in the truck, we drove to a drugstore and while Destiny ran inside, Meek and I waited in the truck. To give you an idea how trusting she was, she left the keys in the truck, the engine running, and the radio on while she was away. Back with us, she asked, "Alight, now do we want to keep driving or would you two like to get a few good hours of sleep in a motel?" Meek suggested that we drive a bit longer and then stop, which is just what we did. Actually, Meek and I sacked out and didn't wake up again until Destiny was pulling into the Crescent Moon Motel somewhere west of St. Louis, Missouri. It was late, about 9 but not yet really dark. "We're in Missouri?" Meek asked with surprise. "That is awesome." Destiny went in and paid for a room while we waited for her. She came back and took us into 23B on the 2nd floor. "Before you sweet boys go to sleep, I had an idea back in Ohio," Destiny said. "Oh yeah," I said, remembering that we had stopped. She pulled out 2 small boxes from a plastic bag and asked, "I was thinking if we bleached your hair, no one would recognize the 2 of you once we made it to California. Why are you going to take us all the way?" I asked with no small amount of shock. "Well, Only if you want me to sugar baby, she said. Yes please, I exclaimed and added please. Please. Yes please twice. Little did I know, but she and Meek had talked and worked something out between them, which gave Destiny a reason to go all the way to California. Meek was all for bleaching his naturally brownish hair, but I have, well, had jet black hair. I didn't think it was possible to bleach black hair without it coming out some god-awful orange color. Meek's hair only took a half hour to get it bleached out, but mine took over an hour to get all the color to come out. When it was finally time for me to rinse out the foul-smelling chemical solution, Meek was sound asleep, wearing nothing but a pair of white boxer briefs.